So, the streets have been on fire all night, because Remy Ma just walked onto a stage, grabbed a microphone, and basically told the entire world that Claressa Shields is about to be handcuffed to a married man for a very, very long time, and baby, she did not whisper it, she performed it. From what everybody in that building is saying, during her latest live set, Remy switched up her own lyrics mid-song and declared, in front of a packed crowd, that she will be single when a certain somebody stops asking for half. Half. Not a little something. Not a settlement. Half of everything. And the internet has been on absolute fire ever since, because if what Remy Ma is saying is true, then that divorce Papoose filed for is not coming no time soon, and Claressa Shields might be sitting in the waiting room of somebody else's marriage for years. Now y'all know I have been covering this love triangle since the very beginning, and I told you the energy was off, but for the wife to get on stage and turn the divorce money into a punchline, honey, that is a whole different conversation. Because this is not a rumor from a blog. This is not a blind item. This is Remy Ma, the actual wife, the woman whose name is still on that marriage license, standing under stage lights and telling everybody that the holdup is not love, it's not paperwork, it's not pride. It's half. And if you understand what that means legally, then you already know Claressa Shields woke up to the worst news of her entire relationship. See, everybody has been watching Claressa parade around talking about how Papoose filed for divorce because he's so serious about her, and for months the internet just let her have it. But Remy Ma just flipped the whole board over. Because if the divorce is frozen over money, then the divorce was never about Claressa at all. It was about the bag. And baby, we are about to unpack every single layer of this, the performance, the lyrics, the money, the interviews where Claressa embarrassed herself, and the one question nobody wants to ask out loud. If he is fighting this hard for half of what Remy built, what exactly do you think he is planning for the woman with the $8 million deal? Stay right there, because it gets so much worse. Okay, so let's get into exactly what happened, because the details of this performance are actually insane. Remy Ma was on stage doing her thing, the crowd was hyped, the energy was right, and then she gets to a certain section of her set and decides, you know what, we are not doing the regular version tonight. She switched the lyrics up in real time and told that entire audience, I'll be single when he stops asking for half, but that's between me and y'all. And then she said it again. And then the crowd started repeating it back to her, and you could hear people in the audience yelling, asking who is getting half of what, and the whole building just erupted. Now, I need y'all to understand something about Remy Ma. This is a woman who chooses her words very carefully. This is a battle rapper. This is someone who knows exactly what a microphone does. She did not stutter. She did not slip. She did not get caught off guard by a reporter in a parking lot. She stood on a stage, on her own time, in front of her own fans, and delivered that line like a closing argument. And the part that really sent the internet into orbit is that she said that's between me and y'all, which is basically her way of saying, I am telling the fans the truth that the lawyers won't let me say in public. Baby, that is not a woman venting. That is a woman testifying. And the clip spread everywhere within hours, because everybody immediately knew exactly who she was talking about. There is only one man who filed for divorce from Remy Ma. And there is only one man who, according to Remy herself, is asking for half. Now let's talk about what half actually means, because I don't think people understand how deep this goes. Remy Ma and Papoose have been married since 2008. That is well over a decade of marriage. And during that marriage, Remy Ma was the star. She was the platinum artist. She was the one on Love and Hip Hop. She was the one with the endorsements, the appearances, the touring money, the catalog. And while she was building all of that, Papoose was right there, and to his credit, he held her down when she was locked up. Everybody knows that story, everybody respects that story. But respect does not pay out in divorce court, honey. Because if they were married for all those years, and she was the primary earner for most of those years, then half of everything accumulated during that marriage is a serious number. And according to Remy Ma's own words on that stage, that number is exactly why she is still legally married. Think about that. The divorce is not stuck because of love. It's not stuck because somebody is begging for reconciliation. According to the wife herself, it is stuck because of the money. But if the divorce can't even get finalized because he allegedly wants half of Remy's empire, then what he's actually serious about is the check. And the math is not mattering for Claressa no matter how she spins it. And speaking of spinning, let's get into the interview that everybody is dragging Claressa Shields for, because baby, it was a mess. Claressa sat down and tried to set the record straight about her relationship, and what came out of her mouth had the entire internet in shambles. In Claressa's mind, the fact that Papoose filed paperwork means he chose her, means he's committed, means she won. But the internet heard something completely different. The internet heard a woman bragging about a piece of paper that hasn't been signed, in a divorce that hasn't been finalized, from a marriage that is still legally active. Filing for divorce and being divorced are two completely different things, and everybody knows it. You can file for divorce and stay married for years. You can file for divorce and use the filing as leverage. The filing is not the finish line, it's the starting line, and Claressa Shields is out here doing victory laps at the starting line. And what makes it so much worse is that she said it with her whole chest, laughing, confident, like she had just dropped the greatest comeback of all time, and instead she basically confirmed to the entire world that she does not understand the situation she is in. Because while Claressa is celebrating the filing, Remy Ma is on stage telling everybody why the finalizing hasn't happened. And those two stories do not match. Somebody is lying, or somebody is being lied to. And baby, I don't think it's Remy. Here's the thing that a lot of people are missing in this whole situation. Remy Ma holds all the power right now. All of it. Because she is the wife, and the wife does not have to sign anything she doesn't want to sign. If Papoose is allegedly asking for half, and Remy thinks that demand is disrespectful, she can let this divorce sit in the system for as long as she wants. She's performing, she's working, she's glowing, she's making money, and every single day that divorce stays unfinished, Claressa Shields stays exactly what she swears she isn't, which is a woman in a relationship with a married man. And that is the part that has to be eating Claressa alive. Because no matter how many interviews she does, no matter how many times she says he filed, no matter how confident she sounds, the legal reality does not move until Remy Ma says it moves. And Remy just told the whole world, on a stage, in a song, that it is not moving until the money conversation changes. Do y'all understand what that means? That means Remy Ma controls the timeline of Claressa Shields' relationship. The wife is literally the gatekeeper of the girlfriend's future. And the craziest part is that Remy doesn't even seem bothered. She turned the whole thing into a performance moment. She turned her own marriage drama into crowd participation. That is not the energy of a woman who is stressed. That is the energy of a woman who knows she's winning. And when the person you share a man with is that comfortable, baby, you should be terrified. Now, once that performance clip hit the internet, the reaction split down the middle in the messiest way possible. On one side, you had people screaming that Remy Ma is petty, that she's bitter, that she needs to let that man go and move on with her life. But on the other side, and baby this side was loud, you had thousands of people saying hold on, wait a minute, why is nobody talking about the actual headline here? The headline is not that Remy is petty. The headline is that a grown man allegedly wants half of the money his wife earned, money from a career that she built, money that was stacking up while she was the name on the marquee. And the gender politics of this thing got ugly fast, because a whole lot of men came out and said listen, if the roles were reversed, nobody would blink. Women ask for half every single day. Courts hand women half every single day. So why is it suddenly scandalous when the man is the one asking? And honestly, that's a fair conversation to have. But then the other camp fired right back and said no, it's not the asking, it's the context. This is a man who is publicly in a relationship with another woman, flaunting her, doing interviews with her, posting her, while simultaneously, allegedly, holding up his divorce over money from the wife he left. And that combination, the audacity of moving on publicly while keeping one hand in the old cookie jar, that is what people cannot wrap their heads around. You can't parade the new woman and invoice the old one at the same time. Well, apparently, allegedly, you can. And the internet has a whole new vocabulary for men who do exactly that. And here is where the whole thing goes from messy to genuinely unbelievable, because Papoose did not build his reputation as just any rapper. Papoose built his entire public identity on loyalty. This was the man who held Remy Ma down through a 6-year prison bid. This was the man who showed up, who visited, who kept her name alive, who stood by her when the industry forgot about her. And when she came home, they became the poster couple for black love in hip-hop. They did the reality shows. They renewed vows. They had the baby. They told the world, over and over, that their love was the exception, that they were unbreakable, that what they had was real in an industry full of fake. They were proof that you could survive anything. So fast forward to now, and that same man, the loyalty ambassador, the walking black love commercial, is allegedly asking for half of his wife's money while dating a boxing champion in public. Do y'all see why the internet feels personally betrayed? Because people did not just invest in their relationship, people invested in what their relationship represented. And now the entire brand looks like it was a marketing campaign. Every vow renewal, every interview about loyalty, every we are unbreakable moment, all of it is being re-examined under this new light. Was it real, or was it positioning? Was he holding her down, or was he holding his place? Baby, those are not questions I ever thought we'd be asking about Papoose. But here we are. Now let me tell y'all about the detail that really has people doing the math on this man's character. During Remy Ma's time in prison, Papoose was sending her money. Commissary money, support money, keeping her comfortable while she was behind the wall. And at the time, everybody saluted him for it, and rightfully so. But now that this half-talk is on the table, people are looking back at that whole era with squinted eyes, because the conversation has shifted from love to accounting. Was that support, or was that investment? Was he being a husband, or was he making deposits into something he planned to withdraw from later? And I know that sounds cold, I know it sounds cynical, but this is exactly the kind of conversation that happens when money enters the chat. Because if a man is allegedly willing to freeze an entire divorce over half of his wife's estate, people are going to re-audit every generous thing he ever did. And the wildest part is, some folks are even joking that he wants his commissary money back with interest, that all those years of loyalty were really just a long-term savings plan. Now, is that fair? Maybe not. Is it what the entire internet is saying anyway? Absolutely. And once the public starts doing forensic accounting on your marriage, baby, your image does not recover. Because now every sweet thing he ever said to Remy Ma sounds like a man reading terms and conditions. Let's also not forget how we even got here, because the timeline of this triangle has been a scandal from the very first chapter. Remy Ma herself is the one who blew the doors off this thing when she put Papoose and Claressa Shields on blast on social media, posting messages and basically telling the world that her husband was carrying on with the boxing champion. And the way that unfolded was cinematic, because Claressa didn't back down, Papoose didn't back down, and what should have been a private marriage collapse turned into a public three-way war with diss tracks, interviews, and social media shots from every direction. Papoose even dropped a freestyle addressing the situation. Remy dropped her own musical responses. And Claressa Shields, instead of lowering the temperature, kept doing interviews where she doubled down, over and over, that she was not a homewrecker, that the marriage was already broken, that he filed, that he chose her. Meanwhile, through all of that noise, one thing stayed true the entire time. The marriage was never legally over. Not one signature on one final document. And that is the detail everybody kept sliding under the rug while they were entertained by the drama. The girlfriend was doing press. The wife was doing performances. And the man in the middle was letting both of them fight over him in public while, allegedly, his lawyers were fighting for half in private. Now you tell me who that arrangement actually benefits. Because it's not the wife, and if Claressa Shields was thinking clearly, she'd realize it might not be her either. Now here is the part of this story that takes it from gossip to genuinely concerning, and this is the part that everybody covering this situation keeps circling back to. Claressa Shields is not just any girlfriend. Claressa Shields is the GWOAT. Two-time Olympic gold medalist. Undisputed champion in multiple weight classes. The most decorated woman in boxing history, period. And this year, Claressa Shields signed a deal that changed her life financially. We are talking about a reported multi-million-dollar agreement, an $8 million deal that put her in a whole new tax bracket, the kind of money that boxers, especially women boxers, almost never see. And guess who was right there in the middle of that deal? Papoose. Papoose, who has been functioning as part of her team. Papoose, who has been by her side at the negotiations, the announcements, the press runs. Now on the surface, that's a supportive partner. But the internet is asking a much darker question, and honestly, it's a fair one. If this man is allegedly fighting his wife of over a decade for half of her money, and then he turns around and attaches himself to the biggest payday in women's boxing history, is that love, or is that a pattern? Because one is a coincidence. Two is a business model. And I need Claressa Shields to hear this part clearly, because the math that Remy Ma is doing on that stage is the same math that somebody else might be doing on her. And since we're talking about patterns, let's talk about the pattern of silence, because that one might be the loudest thing in this entire story. Claressa Shields has been getting dragged, publicly, brutally, for months. When 50 Cent got on the internet and called her a handsome woman, the timeline went crazy, and it was mean, and it was everywhere. Where was Papoose? When Keith Thurman made those disgusting comments about her, the kind of comments that would make any real partner lose their mind, where was Papoose? When the internet was roasting her for that interview, clipping it, memeing it, laughing at her, did Papoose drop one post, one story, one sentence defending his woman? No. Go listen to it again. He was defending himself. He was protecting his own name, his own reputation, his own legacy. Claressa Shields was barely a footnote in a song that was supposed to be about their love. Meanwhile, this is the same man who once rushed into a whole physical altercation at a concert, allegedly over Remy Ma. The same man who built a whole reputation on writing for his woman. So the question is not whether Papoose knows how to fight for somebody he loves. We have seen him do it. The question is why that energy has never once shown up for Claressa Shields. And baby, when a man protects one woman in public and leaves another one exposed in public, he is telling you exactly where you rank. You just have to be willing to read it. Let me paint a picture for y'all, because this is the scenario that has everybody who's been watching this situation genuinely worried for Claressa Shields. Let's say, hypothetically, the divorce actually goes through one day. Let's say Papoose gets a piece of what he's allegedly asking for, or even all of it. Now he's free. Now he's available. Now he and Claressa Shields can have the fairy tale she's been describing in interviews. Maybe they move in together. Maybe there's a wedding. Maybe there's a baby. And everything is beautiful, right up until the day it isn't. Because relationships built in chaos tend to end in chaos, and when that day comes, what do y'all think happens next? This is a man who, allegedly, looked at a woman he was married to for over 15 years, a woman he claimed to love more than anything, and said I want half. So what do you think he's going to say to the woman he was with for 3 years? And here's the scary part. He has already been positioned inside her career. He was there for the deal. He was there for the money meetings. If it ever goes left, the story writes itself. I facilitated this. I built this with her. I deserve my piece. And then what? Then Claressa Shields, the greatest woman to ever put on gloves, is sitting in a courtroom watching somebody argue that her historic payday is community property, or that he's owed a percentage for his contributions, or whatever legal dressing they put on it. And it won't even be a surprise, because we all watched him rehearse it on Remy Ma first. And the wildest part about that future scenario is that the evidence file is already being built in public, and Claressa Shields is the one building it. Think about every viral moment she has handed the internet in the last year. The emotional interviews. The back and forths. The moments where everybody could see the passion, the volatility, the fire. Now, in the boxing world, that fire is what makes her great. But in a courtroom, in a custody dispute, in a money dispute, that same fire gets described very differently by a lawyer sitting on the other side of the table. Volatile becomes unstable. Passionate becomes erratic. And every clip, every interview, every heated moment lives on the internet forever, waiting to be Exhibit A in somebody's filing. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm saying that if a man has already shown you, allegedly, that he views the end of a relationship as a financial event, then you have to assume he is also taking notes during the relationship. Because that's what people like that do. They don't just leave. They leave with documentation. And Claressa Shields, who has been more public, more raw, and more unfiltered than almost any athlete in the game, has been writing somebody's case file in real time, on camera, for free. And the man who benefits from that file is the same one currently, allegedly, invoicing his wife. Baby, the blueprint is not hidden. It is on stage, on a microphone, with a crowd chanting it back. Now I want to speak directly to Claressa Shields for a minute, woman to woman, champion to champion, because there is something about this situation that honestly breaks my heart. Claressa Shields comes from the fight game. And in the fight game, there is one rule that they drill into you before anything else, before footwork, before combinations, before conditioning. The referee says it before every single round of every single fight you will ever have. Protect yourself at all times. That is not a suggestion. That is the foundation of the entire sport. And what kills me is that Claressa Shields is a master of that rule inside the ring. Her defense, her head movement, her ring IQ, that is literally what made her the greatest. She can see a punch coming before her opponent even decides to throw it. But outside the ring, this same woman is standing dead center in the line of fire with her hands down and her chin up, and everybody watching can see the shot coming except her. The skills are the same, baby. The philosophy transfers. Read the body language. Watch the patterns. Don't fall in love with the feint. If a man shows you his entire fighting style against one opponent, believe that tape. Study that tape. Because you are the next opponent. And right now, Claressa Shields is not studying the tape. She's in love with the feint. And let me make this plain with an example everybody can understand, because sometimes the truth lands better in regular life than in celebrity world. If you meet somebody new, and you find out that person has been in and out of court with their exes, fighting them over money, draining them in legal battles, leaving a trail of financial destruction behind every relationship, what do? Do you say, well, it'll be different with me? Or do you take that information as the preview that it is? Because everybody knows that person. Everybody has watched a friend ignore that exact warning sign and then act shocked when they became the next court date. And it works both ways. If you meet a man who has a history of turning breakups into invoices, you don't get to be surprised when you receive one. If you meet a woman who left every ex in financial ruins, you don't get to act shocked when your name lands on a filing. The past behavior is not just gossip. It is a job application for how they will treat you. And in this situation, the application is being filled out in public, in real time, on a concert stage, with a beat behind it. Remy Ma is not just being petty up there. Whether she means to or not, she is handing Claressa Shields the tape. She is showing her exactly how this man behaves when a relationship ends. And the message could not be clearer if it came with subtitles. The only question is whether Claressa Shields is watching, or whether she's too busy celebrating a filing to read the final judgment coming down the road. Now let's give Remy Ma her flowers for a second, because while everybody has been focused on the mess, Remy has been on a whole victory lap. Think about where this woman was just a couple of years ago. Her marriage collapsed in public. Her husband moved on with a younger, famous, champion boxer, and the internet spent months debating whether she was bitter, whether she was pressed, whether she was embarrassing herself by speaking on it. And look at her now. She is on stages, in front of packed crowds, turning her own heartbreak into crowd participation moments. She took the one thing everybody used to clown her for, the divorce drama, and she weaponized it into entertainment that she controls. And the performance we are talking about today is the perfect example. She didn't call a blogger. She didn't write a paragraph on Instagram. She waited for a stage, waited for the lights, and delivered the single most damaging detail of this entire saga, the half, as a lyric. Do y'all understand how calculated that is? She made the money demand the hook of the song. She made the crowd chant the evidence. And now every blog, every channel, every commentator, including me, is talking about Papoose allegedly wanting half, on Remy Ma's terms, from Remy Ma's script. That is not a bitter ex. That is a strategist. And the scariest part for everybody else in this triangle is that she is clearly not done. That performance was not closure. It was a preview. Now I have to address the debate that has completely taken over the comment sections, because it is honestly half the reason this story exploded the way it did. The moment that performance clip dropped, the gender war started. On one side, you have people, mostly men, saying that the outrage is fake and selective. Their argument is simple. Women have been taking half in divorces since the beginning of time. It's standard. It's expected. So when a man finally stands in that same position and asks for the exact same thing, suddenly he's broke, suddenly he's a clown, suddenly he's every name the internet can think of. And they are calling that a double standard, and honestly, a lot of people are nodding along. But then the other side fires back, and their point cuts deeper. They are saying it's not about the half, it's about the posture. This is a man who spent years building a brand on being the ultimate loyal husband, the man's man, the protector. That was the whole image. So to go from that image to allegedly holding up a divorce over your wife's money while you parade a new relationship in public, the whiplash is the story. You can't sell the Protector brand for 15 years and then pivot to the collection plate when it's convenient. And baby, both of those camps are fighting it out in every comment section right now, and honestly, that's exactly why this story has so much fuel. Because it's not just about three people anymore. It's about what everybody believes about money, loyalty, and who owes who when love dies. And here's the detail that has the entire timeline doing detective work, because the math of this triangle was never clean to begin with. Remy Ma is the one who announced to the world that Papoose and Claressa Shields were an item, and she did it by putting their private messages on Front Street. That means, by the wife's own account, this new relationship started while that marriage was still very much alive. And ever since that moment, Claressa Shields has been fighting the label that came with it. Every interview, every appearance, somebody asks her about being with a married man, and every single time, she reaches for the same shield. He filed. He filed. He filed. But now, thanks to Remy Ma's performance, the entire internet is looking at that shield and realizing it's made of paper. Because he filed, and then what? Months have passed. There is no divorce decree. There is no final judgment. There is a filing, sitting in a courthouse, allegedly frozen over money. So every time Claressa said he filed, what she was actually telling us, without realizing it, is that nothing has actually happened. The process started and stalled. And a stalled process is not a love story, baby, it's a negotiation. And negotiations over half of a fortune do not move fast. They move exactly as slowly as the person being asked to pay wants them to move. And that person is Remy Ma. And Remy Ma just told us, on a microphone, that she is in absolutely no hurry. Now, to be fair, and y'all know I try to look at every angle, there are people who are defending Papoose in all of this, and their argument deserves to be heard. Some folks are pointing out that we don't actually know what he contributed to that marriage financially. This man put his own career on hold for years while Remy was away. He managed things. He held the house down. He raised the family. And in divorce court, contribution is contribution, whether it came with a check attached or not. There are stay-at-home spouses all across this country who get half precisely because the law recognizes that holding down a household is labor. So if Papoose was that kind of partner for a decade and a half, some people are saying, then half is not greed, half is the law, and Remy Ma would be getting the exact same treatment if the money flowed the other direction. And look, that's a real argument. But here's where it falls apart for me. Nobody forced this man to put his dating life on a press run while his divorce is pending. Nobody forced him to let his new girlfriend go on interviews and make a mockery of a marriage that is still legally binding. If you want to argue for your financial rights, do it in court with some dignity. Don't do it while performing couple goals with the next woman on the timeline. Because that combination doesn't look like a man fighting for what he earned. It looks like a man having it both ways. And the court of public opinion does not respect both ways. Now let's talk about where Claressa Shields' head might actually be in all of this, because I don't think she's stupid, and I don't think she's blind. I think Claressa Shields is doing something that a whole lot of people do when they are in too deep. I think she has invested so much into this relationship, so much public pride, so many interviews, so much defending, so much fighting with the internet, that walking away now would feel like losing. And if there is one thing we know about Claressa Shields, it's that she does not lose. This woman has built an entire identity on being undeniable, on beating every odd, on winning when everybody said she couldn't. Leaving Papoose now would mean admitting the internet was right. It would mean admitting Remy Ma was right. It would mean that every single person who warned her gets to say I told you so. And for a competitor like her, that might genuinely feel worse than whatever is coming. So she doubles down. She does another interview. She laughs a little louder. She says he filed with a little more chest. Because the alternative, admitting she walked into the exact trap everybody pointed at, requires a kind of humility that championship fighters almost never have. But baby, pride is not a defense. Pride is how you walk into the shot everybody else saw coming. And right now, pride is the only thing standing between Claressa Shields and the exit. Now here is the question that I cannot stop thinking about, and honestly, it's the question this entire story has been building toward. What does winning actually look like for Claressa Shields at this point? Really think about it. Best case scenario, the divorce gets finalized. Papoose gets some slice of Remy Ma's money. And Claressa finally gets the man, fully, legally, officially. What has she actually won? She has won a partner whose last relationship ended in a public financial war. She has won a partner whose loyalty brand collapsed under the slightest pressure. She has won a partner who, according to his own wife, on a stage, in a song, values his exit package enough to freeze his own freedom over it. That is the prize at the end of this fight. That is what all the interviews, all the dragging, all the embarrassment has been in service of. And meanwhile, the cost keeps climbing. Her name is attached to homewrecker headlines. Her interviews are meme material. Her love life has completely eclipsed her legacy in the public conversation, and we are talking about one of the greatest athletes of her generation. When was the last time the internet talked about Claressa Shields boxing? When was the last time her actual craft was the headline? That's the real theft happening here. Not half of Remy Ma's money. Half of Claressa Shields' story. Because she fought her whole life to be known as the GWOAT, and right now, the world knows her as the girlfriend. And baby, that is a trade no champion should ever make. So now the whole internet is sitting with the same 3 questions, and I want to put them directly to y'all, because the comments on this one are about to be a war zone. Question number 1. Is Papoose wrong for allegedly asking for half, or is he simply doing what divorcing spouses have done since the beginning of time, and the only reason people are mad is because this time it's the man holding the invoice? Question number 2. Is Remy Ma petty for performing her divorce drama on stage, or is she a genius for controlling her own narrative and making the whole world chant her side of the story? And question number 3, and this is the one I really need answered. If you were Claressa Shields, with everything that is now public, the half, the freeze, the silence, the pattern, do you stay, or do you go? Because from where I'm sitting, every single road in this triangle leads somewhere ugly. If she stays, she is betting her heart and possibly her fortune on a man whose last play was allegedly a cash-out. If she leaves, she hands the internet the biggest I told you so in recent memory, and she has to rebuild her public image from girlfriend back to greatness. There is no clean exit. There is no fairy tale ending. There is only a choice between 2 different kinds of pain, and she is going to have to pick one while the whole world watches and commentates. And here is my prediction, and y'all can screenshot this and come back to it. This performance is not the end of anything. It is the beginning of the next chapter. Because Remy Ma just proved that she can move the entire internet with one line on one stage, and a woman who discovers that kind of power does not put it back in the drawer. There will be more performances. There will be more lyrics. There might even be a whole record about this, and if there is, it will be the most listened to thing she has dropped in years, and everybody knows it. Meanwhile, that divorce filing is going to keep sitting exactly where it is, because if half is really the sticking point, neither of these 2 stubborn, proud, battle-tested people is backing down first. Papoose has already shown he'll wait. Remy Ma has already shown she'll wait longer. And Claressa Shields will keep doing interviews, keep saying he filed, keep defending a relationship that is legally parked in somebody else's driveway. And the entire time, the clock on her own prime, her own money, her own legacy, keeps ticking. So no, I don't think there is a divorce coming no time soon. I think Remy Ma told us the truth in the only language this industry respects, on wax, on stage, in front of a crowd. She will be single when he stops asking for half. And until that day comes, and it does not look like it's coming, Claressa Shields is exactly what Remy Ma just turned her into with one performance. A woman stuck in the middle of somebody else's unfinished business, holding a filing instead of a future, with the whole internet screaming at her to protect herself at all times. The number 1 rule in boxing. The number 1 rule in life. And the one rule the GWOAT refuses to follow outside the ring. Now I need to hear from y'all on this one. Is Remy Ma exposing the truth or just being petty? Is Papoose entitled to half, or is this the softest move in hip-hop history? And does Claressa Shields stay or go? Sound off in the comments, because I already know this one is going to be a fight. And if you think this triangle is messy, wait until you hear what is allegedly coming next, because trust me, this story is nowhere near over. I'll catch y'all in the next one.